Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Aftermath. Today, we're going to be talking about my National League 2020 season predictions. So let's hop right into it. The first division we're going to be talking about is the Central Division. The teams in the Central Division include the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Reds, and the Pirates. Now, that's a very tough division for the Reds and the Cubs and the Pirates. The Reds and the Pirates. So, last season, the Cardinals, of course, came on top with 91 wins and 71 losses. And the Brewers came right behind them with 89 and 73. Of course, they made the wild card game, but lost to the Nationals in the late innings. So, the Brewers are definitely a good team. The Cardinals are a good team. The Cubs are a good team. And I think the Pirates and the Reds are going to be just close behind them. Not just really close behind them. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do this season. The Reds got Nicholas Castellanos, and the Pirates lost Starling Marte. So with that being said, I think my first place team is going to be the Cardinals again. I think the Cardinals are going to be get first place again. They haven't really made any additions. They lost Carlos I can't remember his name entirely. Someone Martinez, and they gained Matthew Liberatore, another prospect. Now, I think that they're definitely a good team. I think that those prospects are going to help them out a little bit. They've got Colton Wong, Tommy Edman, Paul Goldschmidt, Yadier Molina, and then their pitching staff has got Adam Wainwright and Michael Wacha. They also had a younger kid who pitched in Game 4 of the ALCS and gave up a few runs, so that was not too great. But I think that the second place team is going to be, it's close between the Chicago Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers, but I think that the Brewers are going to come out on top again. The reason I think this is because I think that the Brewers are going to come out on top because I think that they've got a great pitching staff, and I think that their team is just really good as well. They have Mike Moustakas, they have Eric Thames, who they ended up losing to the Washington Nationals, which is not good, but they do have lots of great potential in there. They have Christian Yelich, who's amazing. He's definitely had an all-star caliber season last year, and he definitely had an MVP candidate type season last year. So phenomenal job by Christian Yelich. Phenomenal player. I hope he does well this season as well. Now coming in at the third place team, it's really close between the Cubs and the Reds. The Cubs had a pretty good season last year. They went 84 and 78, and then the Reds had a pretty rough season with 78 or 75 and 87. But I think it's going to be very, very close. I think it's going to be between the additions they make this year. Of course, the Reds added Nicholas Castellanos, but I think it's going to be the Cubs again. I think this division actually, it's just going to come down to the last two teams that I think are going to be one or the other. But I think the Cubs are going to be definitely a team who might beat out the Brewers and might get a wild card spot, or might even beat out the Cardinals for the division title. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Brewers come out on top either. Just those three teams could honestly go anywhere, but last season it just happened to have been the Cardinals. Now, the Cubs actually lost Nicholas Castellanos, and then the Reds gained him, so that was a pretty big deal. If Nicholas Castellanos can do well for the Reds, then I can see them coming out on top. But I can just see the Pirates doing better. I think Chris Archer had a pretty bad season last year, so if he can do better this year, that would be great. They're getting two prospects from the Diamondbacks trade with Starling Marte, so I think that was a big loss as well. But if they can just keep up what they have been doing and just slowly getting 10 more wins or 5 more wins a season, then they'll gradually get up to that Cubs spot or the Brewers spot or the Cardinals spot. But for right now, I can see them beating out the Reds, but not entirely beating out the Cubs. So they're going to be my fourth place team. Then we come down to our fifth place team in the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the Cincinnati Reds are definitely in a rebuilding stage, I think. Joey Votto's getting on the older side. He may retire in the next 2 years or so. But they have a good young core. They have Tucker Barnhart. I think that he still plays over there. And they also have Michael Lorenzen, who's basically like the next Shohei Ohtani. But I think that they're all going to do really, really well. Joey Votto's good, but he's getting on the older side again, like I said. Maybe in 2 years, 3 years, he'll retire, but I'm not entirely sure. And then we're going to go down to the AL East now, or the NL East, excuse me, which includes the Braves, the Nationals, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Marlins. Now, this is an interesting division. I think that all the teams except for maybe the Marlins, are contenders to win this division. Now, everybody except for the Marlins finished above 500 or at 500, like the Phillies. But both teams, or all the teams in this division, have a chance. But I do think the team that's going to come on top is going to be the Nationals. Of course, the World Series champions did really well, but they have been really, really active this offseason. If you want to see my video, it's probably up here. But they have been very active, signing Starlin Castro. They signed Eric Thames. They also signed, I believe it was, they re-signed Steven Strasburg and a bunch of other guys. But they have a great team overall, and I'm really looking forward to see how they do. Will Harris signed with them, of course. So their rotation got a little bit better with him signing. So I think that the Nationals are going to be your first place East in the Eastern Division. Coming in at second place, I think is going to be really close between the Phillies, the Braves, and the Mets. I think the team that's going to come out on top, though, is going to be the Mets. Now, the Mets had a really good season last year. They went 86-76. They finished 11 games back from the 97-65 Braves. So if they can just do a little bit better than the Braves this season, they'll definitely be that second caliber team. They have a great lineup. They recently just signed Dylan Betances as well, so that's really to add to their team. And then they also have a lot of great young guys that I'm looking forward to see how they do and stuff like that. So that's exciting. And then you have the Phillies and the Braves, who could go for the third spot. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be the Phillies, though. The Phillies have done so much hard work these past years, signing Bryce Harper, and then they a few months ago about a month ago, they signed Didi Gregorius to a contract, so that he's probably going to be their starting shortstop. So I'm looking forward to see how they do. I'm very curious as well, but I think they're going to be your third place team. And then coming out, your team number 4, I think it's going to be the Atlanta Braves. Now, I wouldn't have predicted they would get first place in the division last year either, but I would definitely see them getting fourth place because I can't see them doing as well as they did last year. They definitely have an amazing team with Freddie Freeman. They lost out on Julio Teheran, but they also lost Josh Donaldson. So I can see that being a big factor with the loss of Josh Donaldson. I think that he was definitely a big part of their postseason run. They didn't do too amazing in the postseason. They came down to a game 5, but they just choked in that last game and didn't do well. I think it might have been the pitching staff, though, but I think it's going to be all right because I think they're rebuilding just a little bit. I think that they need a few more pieces here and there, but I think besides that, I'm really excited to see how they do. The fifth team, I think, is going to be the Marlins again. Now, I can't see them doing as bad as they did last year. but they definitely need a few more pieces. They lost Starlin Castro, which is definitely not good. I think that he was probably one of their best players. They have a really good catcher who's definitely going to be good next season, I think. So I'm very curious what's going to happen. If they can perform a few trades here and there, I think it'll be good. But if not, that's all right. But so now we're going to move into the Western Division. Now, the Western Division has so much talent. This might be the closest division there is. You have the Padres, you have the Rockies, then you have the Giants, the D-backs, and the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers are definitely the best team in here. The D-backs are pretty close to being all right. I think they're rebuilding as well. I think that the past few years have not been good for them. But I think that they're going to start doing much better. They signed Starling Marte, Cole Calhoun, Madison Bumgarner. They have Ketel Marte, who's really good. They have Christian Walker, who did really well last year. And then they have Eduardo Escobar, who's just really good. Now, I wouldn't have been surprised if they did sign Josh Donaldson. Of course, they didn't. He ended up going to the Twins. But I think that I think that the D-backs are going to be their second place team. I think the Dodgers are going to come in first because even losing all the pieces that they had, Rich Hill, Jin Ryu, big teams like that, I think they're going to be just very close behind. I think that they're very close to be in front. They have Bellinger, they have Seager, they have Turner, they have Max Muncy now, who did really well last season. They have a great pitching staff from Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler. But it's definite, and also Jock Peterson, can't forget about Jock. They have a great team. They're stacked. They're definitely the dynasty. And I'm also shocked to see that they have not won a World Series these past 3 or 4 years. So that's going to bring us to our third place team, who I think is going to be the San Francisco Giants. It's going to be close between the Rockies and the Giants. Actually, I think it's going to be the Rockies now that I think of it. They might lose out on Nolan Arenado, which if they did, then it would definitely be the Giants. But I think Nolan Arenado is holding that team together. They didn't do great last season, definitely not at all. They didn't do great, but I can see them doing much better this season than they did last year. And then it's going to come down to our fourth place team. I think that's where the Giants are going to fall. Losing out on Madison Bumgarner was not good. They have a bunch of great players, but they lost out on Will Smith last season. So their team is slowly falling apart. Brandon Crawford didn't have that great of a season last year. That was definitely not his best season. But I can see him doing well. And then I think it's going to come... I think our fifth team is going to be the Padres because I think the Padres, as much as they're trying to get up there and do better, I think Tatis is going to be amazing for them this season. I think that Manny Machado is going to just do Manny Machado type things and just keep being the beast that he is. And then I think Eric Hosmer is going to do really well as well. But I can see all those teams doing well, and I hope to see the Giants or the Rockies do well, or the D-backs as well. I think this is a very competitive league. I think everybody in this league wants to get up there, and none of them seem to be tanking. The D-backs have come very close to the postseason these couple of years. In 2017, I believe they got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to be in the postseason. I think they beat out the Rockies in the wild card game to play the Dodgers and get swept. But the Dodgers did make it to the World Series that year, and they did lose to the Astros, who happened to have been cheating that year as well. So that's not the best. But I think with that being said, now I'm going to make my predictions of the postseason. Now I think it's going to be very close between the National League and the American League. But the team I think it's going to be in the World Series, I think it's going to be the Astros and the Dodgers again. Now, if the Astros don't do well and their punishments come through, I think it's going to be the Yankees and the Dodgers. I'd like to see the Yankees win that World Series, but I would also like to see how the Dodgers do. Now, with that being said, I think that these teams are definitely really, really good, and I think it's going to be very close, and I'd hope to see one of the Yankees win a World Series. So that's going to be all for today's video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like. If you enjoy all my videos, please subscribe. That's going to be all for today's video. See ya. Bye.